And except audit standards, there is another group that audits and reviews of historical financial information. These are kind of assurance services standards. In that standards, we can see is ISRE, which is there is only two standard exist, which is 2,400 engagement to review financial statements, 2,410 review of internal financial information performed by the independent auditor of the entity. After that, there is assurance engagement other than audits or reviews of historical financial information. In that group, there are only 4 of them, which this group 3,000 through to 3,999. So first standard is about 3,000, is a very important one about the assurance services issue. Assurance engagement other than audits or review of historical financial information. 3,400, the examination of prospective financial information. 3,402, assurance report on controls at a service organization. 3,420, assurance engagement to report on the complication of pro forma financial information, including a prospectus. And the last 2 of them, related services standards, ISRS, which is only 2 of them exist, 4,000 through to 4,999. The first standard, 4,400, engagement to perform, agree upon procedures regarding financial information. 4,410, the second one, engagement to comply financial statements. These standards are designing financial statements audits and assurance services. Therefore, as an auditor, if you serve in that area, you must apply these standards. But as an auditor, you must know that which standard is related, which part of the audit process. So you can just take the standards, apply that part of the process. Therefore, you have to be really eligible to know these standards. You have to have enough knowledge about these standards. How am I going to apply, and what it could be the requirements of these standards? You must really know it as an auditor. These standards is a guidelines for you when you do your independent audit works. Generally accepted auditing standards. These are why we are calling them as a generally accepted auditing standards, because all over the world there is 2 main approaches in accounting and audit approaches. One is Anglo-Saxon approach, which is US and England come together, and this is their approaches. Another one is the European approaches. In European approach, just we can see only Germany and France. The other rest of the European countries applying the Anglo-Saxon approaches. Turkey, one of them. Therefore, generally accepted auditing standards belongs to Anglo-Saxon approaches. And why we call it as a generally accepted? Because 99% of the world countries accepting these audit standards, and they are applying right now. Therefore, it's generally accepted by the world countries. So these standards are the measure of the quality of the auditor's audit performance. And these standards have been approved and adopted by the membership of the AICPA, which is American Institute of the Certified Public Accountants, in 1947. So generally accepted auditing standards helps to ensure to accuracy, consistency, and variability of the auditor's actions and the reports. So there are 3 main groups in the generally accepted auditing standards. One is general standard, another is standards of fieldwork, another is standards of reporting. Under these three groups, there are 10 main standards that we are dealing during the audit processes. General standards, drawing for the auditors. They are what kind of auditors that they can serve during the audit process. They are just giving the rules for the auditors. Standards of fieldwork will drawing the audit processes. And standards of reporting is tell us what type of reports, in which content that we will gonna write audit reports. So these are really important standards for us. General standards, only three of them, we call them as a general standards. The first one is address the qualification of the auditor and the quality of his her work. Adequate technical training and proficiency, independence in mental attitude, and due professional care. These are three of them. I mean, this standard addresses the qualification of the auditor and the general standards address the qualification of the auditor and the quality of his her works. There are only three of them exist in that standards. The first one is adequate technical training and proficiency. Second one is independence in mental attitude, and the third one is due professional care. And the second group is standards of fieldwork, address the planning and performing audit work. There are only three of them exist. The first one is adequate planning and supervision, and the second one is understand the client's internal control, and the third one is sufficient confident evidences. And the third group, standards of reporting. These groups describe the nature and contents of the auditor's reports. There are four main standards that dealing under the standards of reporting. The first one is whether statements were prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Second one is circumstances when generally accepted accounting principles not consistently followed. And the third one is adequacy and the informative disclosure. And the fourth one is expression of opinion on the financial statements. You can see here there are 10 of them, but there are 10 of them, but you can see that there are three main groups under the generally accepted audit standards, but under these three groups there are 10 main standards that drawing auditor, audit works, and audit reports. And these are really important standard sets for the auditors. So, general standards, as I mentioned it before, adequate training and proficiency, but it's a technical training. As an auditor, to become first of all, you must become an accountant. So to become an accountant, every country has some legal regulations. For example, in Turkey, you have to graduate at least 4-year university from the business, econ, law faculties. Then you have to pass some exams, and you have to get 3-year training, so on and so forth. And also proficiency. Okay, audit is an expertise area for the accountants. First of all, you must become an accountant, then you can get your auditor certificate. Auditors is not a profession, is a certificate for the expertise area for the accountants. Therefore, you need some proficiencies. For example, in Turkey, to become an auditor, also you have to take some additional exams, and you have to spend at least 15 years as an accountant in the area. And the second standards under the general standards is the independence in mental attitude. Independency is a very important concept, even if we call it independent audit, independent auditor. So independency is really important concept for us. For in these standards, the independency describing two types. One is independence of mind, another one is independence of appearance. So these independence concepts in the mind, of the appearance. So you have to really understand what does it mean, how is important independency concepts for the auditor. And another one is do professional care. We have to be really care about our audit works. Then we have to work as an auditor under the do professional care standards. So independence, as I mentioned it before, there are two types. One is of the mind, another is of appearance. What does it mean? Independence of mind, the expression of a conclusion without being affected by influence that compromise professional judgment. Independence of appearance means a reasonable and informed third party would be likely to conclude that a firm's or an audit or assurance team's members' integrity, objectivity, or professional skepticism has been compromised. So, independence of appearance are really important because professional skepticism, integrity, and objectivity come together under the independence of appearance, and as an auditor, you have to combine them, you have to integrate them, and you act with them. The second group of the general accepted audit standards, standards of work, which these audit works must be planning and performing the audit processes. So we need to adequate planning and supervision. We need to understand the client's internal control, and also we must really understand the sufficient competent evidences that accumulated by us as an auditor. So what does it mean sufficient evidence? What does it mean competent evidence? These are really important concepts for the audit environment. You as an auditor, you must really understand them. And the third group is the standard of reporting, which is reporting the audit results. How am I going to report? What will be the content? What am I going to mention it in the audit report? These are really important questions for us. Therefore, under this standards group, reporting standards group, we are concentrated four main issues. The first one is these issues is also become a standards for these groups. The first one is whether statements were prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And the second one is circumstances when generally accepted accounting principles not consistently followed. And the third one is adequacy of informative disclosure with the financial statements. And the fourth one is expression of opinion on financial statements. You have to have opinion as an auditor, and you have to make some expression of your opinion on the financial statements in the audit reports. So what kind of opinion that I can reach as an auditor, or expression of opinion on financial statements? How many type of opinion that I can mention it? I can make the expression about them. First of all, unmodified opinion. Another one is qualified opinion, adverse opinion, disclaimer of opinion. So there are four main opinion. And also the unqualified opinion with modified opinion. It comes like this. So there are 4 main opinions that we are dealing under the opinion type of the auditors that mention it on the financial statements in the audit reports. So let's talk about these are general accepted audit standards. International audit standards are really concentrated about the audit process. Now we are going to talk about the ethical code of ethics. So the code of ethics are concentrated for the auditors. As the auditors, you must obey them. So what are these international code of ethics for professional accountants? There are 5 main fundamental principles for the auditors. One is integrity, another is objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. There are 5 main fundamental principles that we are dealing under the fundamental principles for under the code of ethics. So also for the code of ethics, there is some traits and safeguards. There are 5 main traits that we can face with it as an auditor. One is self-interest trait, another is self-review trait, another is advocacy trait, familiarity. There are 5 main traits and safeguards for the auditors. What are these traits? Self-interest traits, self-review trait, advocacy trait, familiarity traits, and intimidation trait. So this is there are 5 of them, which is really important. We can, as an auditor, when we do our audit works, we can face 1 of them, 2 of them. These are really important for us because these traits losing my independency. Therefore, how am I going to protect myself? So under the code of the ethics, we are talking also safeguards part of these traits that exists in the books, and you can read it more from the book. Now let's talk about the audit firms. Now until here, I designed the audit process with general accepted account. Now I designed the audit works with international audit standards and general accepted audit standards. I designed the auditor with code of the ethics. Now I am going to design audit firms with quality control standards. These are not really designing. These are the guidelines to create a quality in our audit approaches, in our audit life. So what is the standards on quality control, which we call them ISQC 1, International Standards on Quality Control. What are these? These quality control standards regulates the responsibilities regarding the independent audits, reviews, and What are these standards? Quality control standard regulates the responsibilities regarding the independent audits, reviews of financial statements, and other assurance and related services engagement. The independent audit firm has to establish and maintain a system of the quality control to provide it with reasonable assurance. Quality control system that established in the company, in the audit firms, it is kind of internal controls in the audit firms. It brings quality to our audit firms. Therefore, it's very important for us. What are these standards, policies, and procedures? What are them? The First of all, leadership responsibilities for quality within the firm. It must be defined. And relevant ethical requirements. And the third one is acceptance and continuance of client relationship and specific engagement. And the fourth one is human resources. And the fifth one is engagement performance. And the last one is monitoring. There are 5 of them. There are 5 main policies and procedures that we are applying to establishing quality control system in the audit firms. These are requirements. Okay, now we come. There are 5. These policies and procedures are designing These policies and procedures create a quality control system in the audit firms. Now we reach the end of the chapter 2. I will continue with the chapter 3.